Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special Talking Insomnia episode where Georg is guesting. Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me, and yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I actually purposely want to start recording right away because I think it'll be interesting for everyone who tunes in to know the full sort of the evolution of this interview, which is to start with by saying, like, I think out of all the guests I've had, you're the one I probably know the least about, Georg. Like, you commented on one of the videos and said, I would like to be a guest. And I was like, sure. And so I have no idea where this is going, but I just want to say welcome again and just let us know a little bit about you and how this happened.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Daniel. So yeah, I struggled, or I'm still a bit struggling with insomnia, but I came across what was the other guy? I think
Carl?
Martin or so.
Oh, Martin Reed, yeah.
Martin is on YouTube, yeah, and CBT-I really helped me, and now I do, like, sometimes I do look on YouTube videos about CBT-I, but now I just look for them as entertainment, basically. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I should start then and tell the whole story from the beginning.
So absolutely, and just to kind of contextualize, what I'm hearing is that you used to have more struggle with insomnia. Now, not so much, thanks to probably what you learned, and you just tune in here and there to see what's going on. But absolutely, just tell us the full story from everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell the full story, because maybe I can also help some other guys which have the same problem. Or yeah, so my insomnia started in February, kind of end of February, because I I got this COVID thing at the beginning of February this year. I got COVID. I still suffer from it, but I got COVID. So, and the COVID, it was a bit, I don't care too much in the beginning, but then I also had trouble with breathing, but it was nothing serious at the time, because I went to hospital and they checked for the blood work and everything was fine. But then sometimes I would wake up, I think it was something 3 in the morning. I would wake up the same time and constantly waking up, and then, but I was able to go back to sleep just fine. I could sleep then. And then I had one night where it was very difficult to go back to sleep, and I worried a lot then, because yeah, I had some nights previous to COVID where I couldn't sleep, but then the next day I would be tired enough to fall asleep instantly. And yeah, that was it. In the beginning, I was not worried too much, because then I would sleep another night fine. But then I would have, like, I don't know, maybe 2 nights where I couldn't sleep hardly. So I couldn't sleep anywhere. And that time I was first, I still had all the COVID issues, the breathing and the fatigue and all this stuff. And so I was seeing my GP, doctor, and he said, yeah, okay, you can try these pills, and maybe they work, and it's nothing dangerous. And I think they were.
Oh, these are for sleep now, or?
Yeah, they were for off label. You call it for sleep. It was like the name was Tritico, and this was a very low dose. So normally it's used in higher dose for antidepressants, and then he gave me a lower dose you can sleep. And yeah, okay, I tried it out, and then I think maybe I have a really serious problem with sleeping, and I take those pills, and the first time they were working quite well. At that time I had also tried out various kinds of herbs, like valerian root and all this stuff, and melatonin and whatever. And then I tried these pills from the doctor, but I don't know, maybe they worked for 3 days or so, and then it was over again. And then I thought, okay, maybe I have a serious problem with sleeping. And the crazy thing was at that time, which was very, it was a very strange feeling, because even if I wanted to sleep, I kind of, my body would I don't know, something like shock, and then my mind would protect me from falling asleep, because maybe you can, I don't know, you can die during sleeping because of the breathing issue. Even though I knew it, the problem was not too big because the oxygen and everything was fine, so there would nothing happen. But my mind was in this, I don't know, protecting mode, I guess. Kind of say
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would, maybe this would go on for 1 month, and I sometimes I would sleep for maybe 2 hours, but then I see the doctor again, and he give me other pills. He give me Sobixone or Sobidame or something like that, and he said, yeah, these are really real sleeping tablets, but I could sleep with them maybe for 2 hours or so, and then it was over. And I really struggled for 1 month, I guess. I really struggled with sleeping, and then I thought my something with my hormones maybe was wrong, or was because of the virus, maybe was not in a good shape. So yeah, that goes for 1 month, and I still had this breathing problems, and chest pain and fatigue, and after 1 month I said, wow, I couldn't handle it anymore, because I was so drained. My all energy was gone basically, and I couldn't sleep. Every time when I was trying to fall asleep, my body would, or my mind would shock, and he would keep me awake. And I think after 1 month, all my energy was basically gone. And I said to my parents, I said, yeah, at that time I can't do nothing now. I have no energy. I don't know, maybe I really thought my life would be over, yeah, basically at that point. And so I said, yeah, I don't know what to do, and they should, maybe they have an idea. I was really also not clear from thinking, because of this, maybe from the lack of sleep or from the coronavirus. In fact, I had really trouble concentrating or doing something. And then, yeah, so my local GP, he also had no idea anymore. And at that time, I went to a clinic. They had, and then they started to check, maybe they can find some inflammation or something from the virus. Maybe in the brain was something wrong, or there were some issues. But they checked with a CT scan, yeah, I think, and they'd redone the blood work and everything. But that all came back fine. So, and I said, I have, my biggest issue at that time was sleeping. Yeah? I can't fall asleep. I don't know what's wrong. Yeah. And they also gave me to try this Xanax or Xor. Yeah, this alprazolam. And even with that, I couldn't sleep. I tried the pill, and I was not sleeping. I was a bit relaxed with this tablets, with these pills, but I couldn't sleep. And yeah, that was crazy. And then the next and then the other night, they gave me basically they all were more focused on the meds and on the medication then maybe trying to find another solution. And at that time, even Xanax wasn't working, so they give me another pills. I don't know. Maybe I just tell everything. Maybe it helps somebody.
Yeah.
Then they gave me lorazepam, Temesta, and mirtazapine, 30 milligram, and lorazepam 2.5 milligram, and that combination really kicked me out for I don't know, for 8 hours. I think I was in a coma, and then that really kicked me out. I think a normal healthy guy, maybe he takes 30 milligram of the mirtazapine alone, he would be sleeping for 12 hours. And with that combination, I slept 8 hours. But then all they told me was, yeah, you can take this medication, but not too long, because it's hardly addicting, and it can be very dangerous. Okay, so then I slept a couple of days with this medication. I was not too worried at that time, because okay, take this and then you sleep. But yeah, then I tried to lower the dose from lorazepam for a month. That was really difficult, because I had some nights where I had an insomnia back, and yeah, that was really hard to do. Yeah, to lower this medication, and you still don't know what's going on. And at that time, when I was taking lorazepam and mirtazapine, I also was very worried about my sleep, and I could go home or could go back from the clinic, and then I was at home, but I still had big problems with sleeping. And I make an appointment actually in the most modern clinic in all Europe for polysomnography, I think it's called, or
Yeah, sleep studies. Yeah.
sleep studies. Yeah, lab, basically a lab. Yeah. And so I went there, and they put on all the cables and everything, and then they recorded the sleep. I could sleep with the medication, and next day I came to the doctor, and I was sure he finds something. There must be something wrong. And then all the doctor was saying, yeah, all good. So there is no issue with your sleep. You were waking up maybe 5 or 6 times a bit, but no issue. And then I said, yeah, there must be something, because for me it's really hard to sleep. And then he said, no, the lab was fine, and we're sorry at that point. We can't do that much. You must go and see your local psychiatrist, and that's it. We can't do anything. And then I said, and then I was really worried, because at that point I thought, okay, they can't even that modern lab can't do anything, or they cannot find out anything. I must be crazy at that point. And so yeah, I went and home again and see the local psychiatrist, and even I think I asked 5 times or 10 times, do I really need such medication for sleep? And then they say, yeah, for sure you need it. You have anxiety or whatever, and you need this. And after I think 2 or 3 months, I managed to get off the lorazepam, which was really hard. But I still had a very high dose of this mirtazapine for sleeping, and which, even if I took this mirtazapine, I think 30 milligrams, I would not sleep or wake up refreshed, or I would wake up anyway every 2 hours or so. And sometimes, even if I quit the lorazepam, I would wake up in the night, and the only thing I can think about is taking this lorazepam. Yeah. Even if I quit it, sometimes later I had to, or I took it to sleep maybe 5-6
Earlier.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, I can take it sometimes, but yeah. And then one night I remember I couldn't sleep, and then I took 1 milligram or so, but nothing happened. So I said, that's really sick. Now it's even the medication doesn't work. So I said, no, this cannot be this. I don't know. And then I looked for. I already had looked in the internet for everything, and then suddenly I came across Martin's channel, yeah,
Martin, yeah.
Martin Reed by luck, yeah, and I started to see his podcast or what he's doing, and really crazy because the first time I saw one episode, and after that, okay, that could be me, and I slept fine. I really slept maybe 6 or 7 hours. Yeah.
Amazing.
After only one episode.
And let's pause there actually, and you know, the next part of this conversation we'll talk about like what happened, you know, after this. But just so we're clear on the time frame here, it all really started like in February, and 2 months later, like March. Is it somewhere in April you think that you found Martin's channel?
Yeah, I think it was maybe April,
May, something like that, maybe.
April, yeah, April, yeah.
And okay, there were a couple of things I want to really ask about. One was, can you describe these the shocks, if you will? Like, what did it feel like? What did you experience?
The shocks, yeah, that was really strange because I think originally the shocks came from my mind protecting me not falling asleep, because you have a breathing issue, and if you sleep, you might die or something. But
And
then
yeah.
And then I was very convinced about, no, there is nothing. Nothing will happen in sleep because you have checked all. But my mind was still in that state, but it got a little bit better, and with this medication, then with the lorazepam, the shocks were basically gone. But the problem was, once I stopped the lorazepam, that shocks came back, but more intense, and the shocks would feel like really like adrenaline rush, like basically electroshock going through your body. Yeah, that came then back with once I stopped this once good medication. It came like, yeah.
And was it usually like when you went to bed or were you just about to fall asleep around that time, or did it happen other times too?
No, it was more like when I was falling asleep. Just when I was falling asleep, and yeah, sometimes adrenaline would come over my body, even if I go to bed, because I already knew I wouldn't sleep that night. So
Absolutely. I just wanted to ask about that because that's so many people ask about exactly those shocks, jolts, like adrenaline rushes, and can be quite scary. So it's you know, it's always good to know that they're common and you had them, and not and by the way, you know, it's very interesting. You already before even finding Martin's channel, it seemed like you had somehow understood that this is, or did you understand this, or did this come later, the understanding that there's somehow my brain is trying to protect me from something? Did you already understand that at that point?
I understood a bit. Yeah, I was investigating where this problem would come from, and then I find out. Yeah, I understood a bit, but through Martin's channel, then I really figured out the details. And for me, it's more important to understand things, and then I could deal with them more easily. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the one sad thing is these shocks I described to psychiatrists, to my GP, I described it even to the sleeping lab, and nobody had a clue. So I was like, am I the only person who is experiencing this in all over Central Europe?
And that's, to me, actually, like, every story that like yours is so valuable, George, because other people can see like, oh, that happened to me, there's nothing strange, etc. But like what so far really stands out with your story is this: it so illustrates the problem with the current like medical system, where everybody kind of just gives you like a clueless look, and then you feel really scared, and like this disconnect between what happens in so many people today in 2021 in the world have issues with insomnia, anxiety, like stress, things like that. And then when you get that response from the medical system, it just makes things worse. So that, I think your story really highlights the problems there, and I of course hope for change there. But another couple of things I just want to ask before we talk more about like what happened after you found Martin was during this time, did you have any obligations like school or work, or what was
I was working before I got COVID. I was working on construction sites as a supervisor, and once I got sick with COVID, I was really lucky that my employer, he was like, yeah, if you sick, take your time until you recovered, and then go back. Yeah, that's also helped me. But on the other side, yeah, I was like, I was also sometimes I was trying, like, which is completely wrong, to sleep in the morning, then a bit longer to catch up. That cycle keep on then going. But on the other side, now I'm still suffering from this COVID, and it's still still struggle with fatigue and all this. But that's a different problem than the sleeping issue. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up, you say it so well, which is that it's kind of a relief when someone says, oh, take your time, you don't even have to worry about this. But then on the flip side, like you say, it can lead to, like, when you have this flexibility, then you try to get sleep in the morning and chase it even more, and which kind of keeps the struggle going in a way, exactly like you said. But okay, so but you were, we can see that you were very affected by the fatigue, partially due to sleep, partially due to other things, but that was happening. Okay, I think that's it. So we've seen what's happening. You found Martin's channel. As soon as you kind of saw that, I think I'm beginning to understand there's hope, I'm not alone, then the first night there you actually slept quite peacefully, right?
Yeah, I slept really, I don't know, maybe 6 hours or so. I slept quite good, yeah. But that was only one night.
Yeah, exactly. But, of course. And then, so yeah, take us. What happened after that? Yeah.
So that was one night, and then I said, I knew I had not lost my ability to sleep. And I was convinced my sleep, my hormones or that stuff was fine, and I didn't lose the ability to sleep. So I said, at that point, no matter what, if I don't sleep, I don't sleep, because I would build up this, how you call it, sleep drive. Sleep drive, yeah, with long time or long period of being awake, the sleep drive gets more, and then I would sleep. And I also decided, once I saw the channel from the first episodes from Martin, I decided for myself to quit all this, to never take this medication, lorazepam, and also to quit the other type of medication, which is called the mirtazapine. And no matter what. And yeah, that was really hard, because also from the previous time before I saw Martin's channel, it's this cycle with not sleeping and anxiety and depression and all this. That's really intense, yeah. And then I decided to stop these medications, and it was crazy, because at that time, so for my mind, when I sleep, it would be refreshed, but for my body, actually, when I get sleep, it would not help this fatigue will not go away. And that was really strange, because I thought maybe it's coming from not sleeping. And then I slept like okay for a few days, but the fatigue would not go away. And then, okay, maybe it's from the coronavirus or so, but my mind would still be refreshed. And then, yeah, I lowered the doses gradually, until now. I still need to take like 3 or 4 milligrams, because it's very hard when I drop a big chunk of this medication, which was anyway wrong to start on it. I think in the after.
So you went from like the mirtazapine like 30 milligrams, and now it's just 4 milligrams.
3 milligrams, and yeah.
Oh wow! I mean, it's quite remarkable. You've done so much kind of inner work yourself just by listening to the channel and contextualizing. And now, was it like, it sounded like actually early on you were on the lorazepam, but you really didn't want to take it. Were you afraid of like the addiction, or like health or why was it that early on even you didn't want to take anything?
No, I was really skeptical from medication like this type, and no, I really don't want to take it. But at that point, I was realizing maybe I need it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and now I think, and let's just for now, let's just talk about like at this point in time, you take a very small dose of mirtazapine, but you overall you still don't necessarily sleep well. You still feel fatigued, but it seems like the sort of the real battle and struggle has quite faded quite a lot. But what's the picture like today, would you say?
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle I definitely have overcome, because now I know this, and what helped me the most is from CBT-I was really this to set up this time frame. The time frame where you go, mine was from the beginning was from 12 midnight to 6 in the morning, and to set up that time frame in the beginning was so hard, because the first 2 nights I could not sleep, and then, but I still even if I was fatigued and I tried to do as much as I can during the day. And I remember the second time we went out for a dinner, and I was so tired, I can't even remember much from it. And then my brother or my sister told me, when we're driving home, you were sleeping. And I say, no, I don't remember. And at that point, I must have passed out already before even my sleeping window starts. And then I was awake. I think it was like 50 hours or so. And once I got into this next frame, lights go out, and I would, no matter what medications I took, I would sleep 6 hours. 6 hours straight, yeah. And then the even more harder was to go up at 6 o'clock in the morning then, yeah. And yeah, it was so hard, and it was so hard, but on the other side, it was so I was so happy that I can that my body find back in this routine. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's so hard. I really thought I would die from it.
Oh my gosh.
And sounds a bit easy now, but I was really concerned at that time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now it's kind of like I mean, this is kind of like a silly comparison, but I the other day I was thinking of how when I talk to someone like yourself, George, who are like, you're still not kind of completely distanced from the struggle, but you can look back and see things, and you can even smile at things, and like it's not as scary anymore. And it's sort of like when my kids, they decide to scare me or my wife or something like that, they hide somewhere and they say like, boo, and then for a second you're like, oh my god, what's happening? And then you say, oh, it's just my kids, and then you're like, oh, you can already laugh at it, but it's a kind of a micro version of what happens, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that said, I want to ask a couple things. So yeah, firstly, so you decided, okay, you heard Martin say this helps, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get up at 6. I'm not going to go to bed before midnight, and I'm going to try to have a good day, be active during the day no matter what. It was super tough in the beginning, but then you started sleeping, started seeing like, oh, this works, there's nothing wrong with me, things getting a little easier. And did you start like going to bed a little earlier, or are you still sticking to that 12 to 6 window?
No, not really. I stick to that window in the beginning, and it was super tough. Everyone who's doing this, maybe it was the most toughest thing in my life until now. And then doing something during the day and try to do at least have some, I would say, okay moments. It was not like I can enjoy the day and do stuff. It was like I can barely get through the day and maybe have a couple of okay moments where I can participate, and that's it. And yeah, I sticked not that long. I see it was working, and then I went to bed when I was tired. I go to bed, and then I sleep. Sometimes it was okay, I can sleep, but then I would wake up after 1 hour, and so I'm at the moment I still I'm struggling a bit waking up and so on, but as soon as I have problems, I will implement this CBT-I techniques, and at the moment I think it's also a bit because of reducing this medication. It also messes up a bit of brain chemistry, so to say. But no matter what, I will reduce it and then don't take it.
Exactly. You decided that already. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Very well. I think this is perfect. So let's spend some time now on like on my end. I want to sort of like contextualize a few things, and we can just have a discussion, and maybe this could be helpful for you and hopefully for everyone who tunes in as well. And as always, to anyone listening, and you to George, nothing is medical advice, just me sharing my general thoughts here. So firstly, I want to just like talk about like your story and put that in context and see if it makes sense or not. And so basically, we can start by saying like that the brain really is this like survival machine. Like everything it does is really to make us survive. Even if it's something like fun, we go like, I don't know, we go and play golf. It's kind of like a problem solving thing that it enjoys, and it's also bonding. We meet other people, and like it's a survival mechanism in a way, and so is everything it does is that in some way. And so when you had you know during February, March, there was this in the whole world was this like strong fear about COVID, and you had it, and naturally that can cause some fear, etc. And then when the brain is in like an even like a heightened alert, if you will, then anything can sort of become something it thinks of that this could be harmful, this can be a threat to me. And so for example, being awake at night, not sleeping, can in the safety radar of the brain can pop up as like this is a threat, right? And in the beginning, it can be like in the periphery of the radar. So you don't really have much struggle. You don't sleep much, but you don't think so much of it. And it can actually can fade away, or it can just stay there for as a little threat for even longer periods of time. And sometimes people take a little melatonin. And because the fear is kind of in the periphery of the radar, just melatonin makes you feel safe. It's like, oh, good, now I've taken care of this. I don't have to struggle anymore. And then you sleep easily. It can seem like it's the melatonin, the chemicals that make you sleep, but in reality, it's like your brain feels safe, like it's delegated the work of sleeping, etc. But then it can go in different directions. So if you start taking, let's say, melatonin, and there's still a little bit of struggle, then the brain can go into like, oh my gosh, there's actually, this is a bigger problem than I thought. Let's try something else. And then you try something else, then it escalates. And then you have this moment when you see a doctor, for example, and then the doctor says, yeah, I mean, I think you have some insomnia here. I think you should take this. And then it's like, oh yeah, there is something wrong with me and I need to take this. But then it's the safety again, like this medication, this is prescription strength, this is going to work. You take it, it works a little bit, but the brain, like your brain, not convinced, it's still skeptical. What's really going on? I don't really understand it. The fear is still somewhere there. After a while, it starts questioning like what's going on. And then even if you take medication, like you don't sleep. And then it's this cycle of like increasing fear. And as you pointed out, like, or you didn't necessarily point that out, but what happened here was like, kind of no matter what happened, there was increasing fear. Like if somebody said nothing is wrong, all the blood work is fine, then it's like more fear, because then what's the problem, right? And if somebody says like, oh, you have to take medication, really, then it's like, oh, then there is something wrong. So everything kind of increases the fear, right? And so I firstly want to ask, overall, if kind of let's pause here actually and say like, does this make sense and kind of can explain how insomnia happens?
Yeah, at least for my case, I think it was exactly that. Yeah. Exactly, and then you think and then the other thing is, if you don't sleep for a couple of days, then you look up the internet and see, yeah, if you don't sleep 8 hours and you can have dementia or whatever, and yeah,
of course. More fear, yeah, 100%.
More fear. Yeah, more
and
fear.
I actually thought you were going to say that if you haven't slept for like 2 days or something, then also your mind isn't really properly like functioning. So like it's more confusion. Oh my gosh, like you can't process things so well. So okay, so we talked about that. Now I want to just spend a little time on medication too, because I know many in the audience will hear your story, and then I'm sure someone who hears this, you know who you are, will go like, oh, lorazepam plus mirtazapine. That was the thing that worked for George. I need lorazepam and mirtazapine. You know, somebody's gonna think that. And I just want to like highlight that, although that was what at some point kind of like knocked you out, it's kind of important to say that medications just cannot make you sleep, because then, you know, we wouldn't have insomnia. It would be so easy. So it's like, yes, they're sedating for sure. And if you're sedated, then you can't really have so much complex fear thoughts. So that can allow sleep to happen. But it's more really that when you take something, you think, oh, good, this will take care of my sleep. It's more that helps than the chemicals themselves. But does that make sense to you? What do you think about that, George?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and yeah, that strong medication, it helps to lower this barrier for getting to sleep. But on the other side, it's that rebound insomnia and all this stuff coming back is, now I can say it's not worth it to take it. Maybe it's good for a couple of days, and then you really find somebody who is into CBT-I, like you or Martin, like a coach who really has experience and has a lot of these problems, and long term, that's the only solution. CBT-I.
I agree. 100%. And now let's go into this other part, which is I know Martin. He's a good friend of mine, and he lives actually 20 minutes from where I live. It's kind of crazy, but so Now, with that said, I want to ask, how have you looked through a lot of my videos, or not so much?
I'm actually, to be honest, I think I saw every video from Martin, but at that time I was into like really I wanted to get back to sleeping and so on, and towards the end of these episodes from Martin, I figured out, okay, now for my case, I've learned it, and I know how to implement the skills, and I have the setup to get rid of insomnia. And then, but at the same time, sometimes in the evening, I was listening to stuff from YouTube. Also, I remember from your episodes. I don't remember the name. It was that guy from Malta.
Yeah, Carl, yeah.
Carl, yeah, he also talking about a lot of medication and so on, what he was taking, and yeah, I've not seen too much, but now when I have time, I do it more like for how to say entertainment.
Yeah, yeah.
For
Sounds good. Yeah, totally. And so the reason I asked about it was that although I would say like 90% of what me and Martin says is like the same, our philosophies are a little bit different when it comes to like the approach we take. So I think he goes more by sort of a little bit more traditional CBT-I methods, whereas I have a little bit kind of like a little, I want to think of it as a gentler or like a little bit less strict approach.
yeah.
And so I want to just share a little bit about that, and we can talk about things that I hope will be helpful. But I think the helpful thing with that, the sleep window that you did, like, okay, I'm just going to stay up till 12 and get up at 6, is that it's very straightforward and it's tangible. It's like you feel like I have something I can actually do now. And it can be super tough, like you said. But then it can really like day 3, day 4, day 5, or whatever it is, it can be like, wow, now I'm really sleeping, which is nice because you see that there's nothing wrong with me. I can sleep. But the tricky thing that happens to some people is that they get this idea that, okay, I just have to kind of force myself to have a really strong sleep drive so that can like overpower any anxiety and then make me sleep. Which, you know, to some degree that's true, that if we are really, really sleepy, we will sleep, like you did in the car, remember?
Yeah.
But just like you slept in the car, but you didn't know of it, someone who's like really sleepy, but also really anxious, they often don't even know that they're sleeping. So they're like, it doesn't really, so my point here is that when we have this idea of that we need to sort of overcome something or use a technique to achieve something, it can be a little tricky because it can keep you in this kind of performance loop where you sort of always have to, sort of like what you're describing, that I have to use the techniques again if I have trouble again. And so I like to think of it like this, that when you do decide I'm going to get up at this time every morning and I'm not going to go to bed earlier than this, that helps actually, in my opinion, at least in the long run, it helps more because it takes you away from trying to sleep. You know, when you spend a lot of time trying to sleep, you're chasing it, you're trying to get it. You're like, so when you a lot less time for sleep, I think of it as not so much that the sleep drive kind of won or overpowered the anxiety, more that it psychologically taught you that I shouldn't be chasing sleep. You know, I'm abandoning the struggle. I'm kind of getting away from the struggle. And I think the benefit with that is that it leads often to like a little bit more peace than sort of this, because what often happens is that I have someone who tells me that I did CBT-I and it worked for like 6 weeks, but now it's not working anymore. Even if I do the sleep restriction, even if I do the tight sleep window, I still can't sleep. And that's from that idea that you can somehow control sleep, that you can just implement a technique and it will make you sleep. So I think, again, like to summarize it, that whenever we go for trying to control something, we have a little more struggle. Whenever we see that, what really helped was actually that I backed away from the struggle. That leads to a little bit more peace overall. But how does that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. And and for me in the beginning, it was good to have this sleeping window, straightforward sleeping window, because then I really the sleep drive, you cannot after 50, for me at least, after 50 hours awake or so, I couldn't think of anything else than sleeping. But yeah, I also was not sure how long should I stick with it, or will it come back, and so on. And but over the weeks, I got more away from this technique, like sleeping window, and then it was like I go to bed in the evening, and when I'm tired, I go sleeping. I mean, I still struggle, but now I have like I'm still suffering from COVID, and I'm still reducing this other medication, and that also messes up a bit with the natural sleep. And I think when I'm completely off this medication, my sleep would be way better than with any of this medication.
Very likely. But then we also have to remind ourselves, with the expectation that sometimes it's like, oh, I'm off this medication, now I'm going to sleep great. And then the expectation makes you not sleep well. So, just keep that in mind, of course.
Yeah,
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
What was I going to say next? Oh, yeah. I think you've already kind of naturally did what I think is helpful, which is like just kind of starting to abandon that strict sleep restriction thing. And I think for someone, this may not apply to you, George, but for someone who's hearing this, sometimes that often helps. Is like, okay, I've been staying up till midnight and getting up at 6. How can I sort of go back to not having any rules at all? Well, sometimes it can help to say, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to still get up at 6, but I'm just going to not check the time after 10:30, or it's like I'm just not checking
absolutely,
something like that can help.
Yeah, I think that strong, maybe the morning, this morning time or morning anchor is maybe more important than what time I go to bed. I don't care.
So. I absolutely think so, but I don't think so much it is because like you start building sleep drive at 6 a.m. I think it's more that even if you have a night where you didn't sleep much, when you still get up at 6, you teach the brain that it's okay to be awake. I don't have to chase it. It's all right. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And now I want to also talk about fatigue. So one thing that often happens to people on the channel, in the community, my clients, etc., is that they notice that, whoa, I actually started sleeping longer, but I'm feeling more tired now. And one reason that often happens is that, when you're in this intense struggle, your brain is in survival mode, and like the adrenaline levels are high, cortisol are high, like you're in this sort of fight or flight mode. And that can actually mask how fatigued you are. You don't even feel your full fatigue because all these hormones are like they keeping this hyper aroused state is keeping you from experiencing that. And then you start actually becoming less worried. You see like, oh, this is not strange. And the hyper arousal goes down, and now you feel the fatigue, So it's been unmasked. So the same thing that produces more sleep, which is the reducing of the hyper arousal, also makes you fully feel how tired you really are. That can happen often. I don't know if that resonates.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I must say, sorry, one thing I could say to everybody who is maybe trying this CBT-I techniques in the beginning with sleep restriction, it's so tough, and sometimes you don't sleep 2 hours, but you don't sleep for 2 days, but you're still trying to do a lot of stuff during the day, which you do normal. It's tough. Yeah,
really 100%. You can't say that enough. Like, I don't know. Well said. I'm just gonna say I hear that all the time, 100%.
Yeah.
And I guess the one last thing I want to add is, and this is another tricky one, is that often like fatigue, we think of fatigue as simply. So let me put it this way. I have this teaching point which I call like cues and clues, and like so I think of a cue, a body cue, is just something super simple. that just calls for a specific action, like I'm hungry, I want to eat. I feel cold, I need to put on something warm, right? Those are simple cues. And then we have other things that are more like clues, like I'm crying. It doesn't call for anything. It just means this is a clue, something, there's some strong emotion within me. That's a clue. And so fatigue is tricky because it can be both. You know, sometimes we're just like, I'm tired. Oh, that's because obviously I ran a half a marathon. I need to rest. It's a simple cue like that. But sometimes fatigue can also be like a clue that I feel tired. I feel like emotionally tired. That means it has something to do with how I think and kind of my inner landscape. And so oftentimes fatigue can come from these feelings like there's something wrong with me, or like, for example, people can be like, I'm so fatigued all the time. Why am I so fatigued? Something must be wrong with me. And nothing I do makes me less fatigued. Then you see, it's like an emotion now. It's like anxiety or something. The more I try to get away from it, the stronger it gets. So sometimes fatigue can act like an emotion like that. And it can just be something that's good to be aware of. Just a little thing there. But how does that sound?
Yeah, I'm not sure in the moment because for me this all this fatigue was new. I never had experienced that pre
COVID?
my insomnia, pre-COVID, yeah. And now I try to do as much as I can, and I still try to do during or to have a good day and not focus on sleeping or anything else. And it actually it improved also that fatigue, but I hope it, or I think it will go away sometime and take more time, and then
Yeah,
it will.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. Yeah, I want to say, I really want to say that I really appreciate this, George, because it so helps so much to hear a story like yours. And you just, you know, it's the first time ever somebody just be like, hey, I want to come and help. I want to be a guest on the channel.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It means so much.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for having me, Daniel. Yeah, maybe some other people out there have the same problem, or also now during this coronavirus or during the pandemic can mess up the sleep. Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Actually,
yeah.
what's happening lately is, and I thought about making a specific video of this. It's like vaccine, like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep after I got the vaccine.
Yeah.
That's the new one now.
That's a new one.
Never end. Always new things. Well, yeah, but let's say thanks so much again, George, and stay in touch, all right?
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.